You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
We now have on the air David Oudôt, the host of Online Gooner. David, are you here?
I am indeed. How are you?
Great. How are you doing this evening?
Yeah, very well. It was great after watching Thierry Henry score his goal last night, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I was going to start out by asking you, what are your thoughts on having Thierry Henry back at the club after 4.5 years? What is it like to see him back in red?
It was great, to be completely honest. I mean, Arsenal haven't been great so far this year. I mean, a lot of the football they play is very, very dull. I mean, even last night, it got all the way to 70 minutes gone, 0-0. Arsenal certainly didn't want a replay at Leeds, and Henry came on, one chance, and scored a goal that I swear I've seen him score it about 200 times separately for Arsenal in his old spell. And being a guy who's got his season ticket in the North Bank upper tier, the goal was right in front of us, and he celebrated with us after the goal and after the game. It was perfect. It was like everyone read the script beforehand.
Yeah, it was definitely a magical goal. What would you rank that on the top goals of Henry? Would that be on the top 5?
The only thing that I suppose goes against Henry was that he scored so many goals similar to that. I mean, in terms of how good they were, his goal last night wasn't as good as the solo goal against Tottenham at Highbury, where he ran all the way from his own penalty area, or the goal against Liverpool, where he dribbled round about 6 or 7 defenders. But having said that, in his current spell, it's certainly his best goal, and I really hope there's at least another 10 to cheer on.
Yeah, I mean, he left to go now playing for the New York Red Bulls, and I'm actually from New Jersey, and I was fortunate enough to see him play at the Red Bull Stadium in Harrison, New Jersey, and it's just not the same as seeing him in the Emirates in that Gunners red. But
sure.
It's definitely exciting for him. I'm very happy to see that he's having the opportunity to go back to where he's been having so much success. Do you think it was a necessary strategic plan for Arsenal to bring back a player, since there's players leaving like Gervinho to the African Cup of Nations?
I think so. I mean, the way that Arsenal play without Van Persie in the side was pretty much summed up in the first hour or 70 minutes last night, where Chamakh was the centre forward. Obviously, he's gone off to the African Nations Cup as of now with Morocco, but he was completely ineffective for the first 65, 70 minutes. Did absolutely nothing, and it was very disappointing to watch. But Henry came on and changed absolutely everything. I mean, Juyong Park could have come on, but he's played sort of 4 times for Arsenal this year, and with the exception of one Carling Cup game against a team in the 3rd or 4th division, wasn't enough, and we certainly desperately need another centre forward. And if Gervinho is going to come back and play as a centre forward after the African Cup of Nations, or Chamakh will find some form with Morocco, then yeah, Henry was exactly what we needed, certainly for the next 2 months.
Yes. And speaking about Robin Van Persie, do you think that he will leave like many other top players from the club come the summertime? Do you think that he's going to sign off and go to another club, or will he stay with Arsenal?
I think ideally he'd like to stay at Arsenal, being the Arsenal team that he sort of first came across in 2004 and 2005 when he first joined the club. But having said that, I mean, he is the best centre forward in the English league at the moment. The rest of Arsenal's team is underachieving, and bearing in mind his contract expires at the end of next season, if Arsenal get a very big money offer from someone like Manchester City again, or Barcelona, or someone like that, the way that Arsenal operate, I don't think they'll necessarily turn those fees down. I mean, if I was given a choice and Van Persie would re-sign a contract, I would take it any second. But in answer to your question, the way we're playing at the moment, I am a little bit worried.
Yes, I mean, Van Persie has definitely been one of the main reasons that Arsenal has been successful so far in the season in what would be without him would be rather troubling. He's had the top goals and has saved you guys in tons of matches. So he is the player that if I was Arsenal, I would do whatever I could to keep him. Now, speaking about other players that are coming through, who do you think is the brightest prospect? Frimpong, Oxlade, Chamberlain, or is there another player that you think will be, the next generation for Arsenal?
I think that they're the two best young players who have come through this season. For a start, Arsenal spent an awful lot of money on Oxlade-Chamberlain. My understanding is he cost in the region of 12 to 15 million pounds. Bearing in mind he only really had a season and a half playing for Southampton in the third division of the country. Wenger obviously really fancied him, and in fairness, the very few times he's played for the first team so far this season, he does look as though that there's an awful lot of potential there. Emmanuel Frimpong was supposed to be a part of the first team squad last season, but unfortunately got one of those horrible injuries that rules you out for a year. He's done okay. He's done really, really well as a defensive midfield player, and looks like a young Alex Song, but with an awful lot more potential. Hopefully he'll have a very good half season on loan at Wolves. The other player who's coming through is looking very good. You've got Cole Jenkinson at right back, who tries so very, very hard, but at the same time does have the potential to be a good fullback. And of all the players, Francis Coquelin's come back from a year's loan at Lorient, has done very well in his 12 first-team appearances this year, and as of this morning, he signed a new 4 or 5 year deal. So the only unfortunate thing is there are no forwards and no one's scoring goals coming through.
Yes, absolutely. Do you think that it's realistic that Arsenal can win a title in the next 5 years, whether it's the Premier League or the UEFA Champions League or the FA Cup? What are your thoughts on the recent drought, and is it possible for them to win something in the next 5 years?
The recent drought started after 2005, when we won the FA Cup for the last time on penalties against Manchester United. Since then has been when Arsenal have changed stadium, and Wenger has essentially turned around and said, okay, I'm going to build a team from youth. And he's tried an awful lot of that in the last 5 years. Whichever way you look at it, the fact we haven't won anything, haven't even looked as though we'd compete for anything, apart from the Champions League final in 2006, we do look as though we've failed. Can we do anything in the next 5 years? I really hope so. However, we are in the situation at the moment where the club has got a 7% ownership in Stan Kroenke from the US, who's come out and said the way that Manchester United are run by the Glazer brothers, in the sense that they don't spend any money and essentially get a lot of their debt back, is a great thing and something that should be followed. Is quite worrying if, but bearing in mind Arsenal have still got £25 million unspent from the summer when they sold 3 of their best players and replaced them with very, very cheap players. It's kind of worrying. I'm not saying that you have to spend £100 million on a player to build a side, but you do have to spend some money when necessary, and Arsenal won't do that. So my prediction is that over the course of the next few years, Arsenal probably won't be ready to win anything, but I really, really hope I get proved wrong.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if it's Arsenal who decides not to spend the money, or if it's really Wenger deciding that he doesn't want to be putting all this money into the players. He wants, to bring them up. It's difficult for a team to compete at the highest level when you're seeing your competitors like Chelsea, Manchester United spending tons of money each year, such as players like Torres for £50 million going to Chelsea.
It's just the way the game is nowadays. I mean, when you hear a lot of interviews with Wenger with regards to, are you going to bring any players in? I mean, there's been a lot of gossip and rumours that Lukas Podolski, the German centre forward, is going to leave his club and is a player that Wenger ranks. So personally, I think he'd be a good signing for Arsenal. But Wenger doesn't come out and say in so many words. He just mentioned that despite the fact that they've got 25 million pounds left over from the summer, he just said, I can't bring a player in unless I break it even. And then he changed the subject. He wasn't having a go. He just casually mentioned it in passing. So whilst we do currently play in a league where Chelsea and Manchester City spend a lot of money, looking at who they bought in the summer as well, Manchester United will spend money as well. Arsenal won't. And unfortunately, whilst it's a really, really good idea and good good province, that kind of thing, it does leave the team slightly weaker, and we're currently battling for fourth, and that's probably the best we can hope for this season.
Yes, to stay in fourth and be able to be in the Champions League is definitely something Arsenal needs to continue to work towards. Do you think that Arsenal has been missing Wilshere, and when do you think he'll be back and suited up?
We are missing Wilshere. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, an awful lot of credit to Aaron Ramsey, who obviously missed a year from February to February, and only sort of came back into the Arsenal team. Maybe one game in 4 or 5, maybe one game in 6 from February onwards. But this season, he's pretty much played every single game. He's trying as hard as you can possibly imagine. He's doing very, very well. However, he is not as good as Jack Wilshere, in fairness. So the fact that Ramsey's done very, very well to essentially fill a hole, and we've got Wilshere coming back, who will hopefully be employed as the attacking midfield player. From a certain point of view, without Fabregas or Nasri to play in that particular role, it'll be very, very exciting for Wilshere to come in. And, there are 60,000 of us who turn up to the Emirates every other week, and there are 60,000 people looking forward to see Jack Wilshere. And my understanding is he's back training at the moment. His leg's feeling an awful lot better, and he's looking to come back first couple of weeks of February.
Absolutely. Obviously, Tottenham is a London rival. Not to say that you need one of their players, but for instance, if you had the opportunity to take one Spurs player, who would it be, and what would you give them in exchange?
Oh, crikey, that's a heck of a question. As much as it pains me, I would take any one of two, being one of Gareth Bale or Luka Modric. They've been outstanding. I mean, I can't think of a better left-hand side midfield player in the league than Bale at the moment, who is getting better and better with every season. And Modric is... he was the guy who Chelsea wanted for £50 million in the summer. From a certain point of view, the fact that we haven't got a centre-forward would suggest to me, a replacement centre-forward for Van Persie. The section of me would say, in that case, get the Tottenham's best centre-forward. As much as that pains me, it's Emmanuel Adebayor, who obviously left Arsenal in a very, 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 very bitter frame of mind. If I could get a deal set up with any Arsenal player going across, oh, crikey. In an ideal world, it would be Marouane Chamakh in the second.
Yeah, that would be a good pickup. I'm looking ahead, and it seems that next you have Swansea, but after that, it's a big match against Manchester United. Do you think Henry will get that start?
I think he'll start one or the other. Absolutely. What game will it be? I'm not entirely sure. I know that Robin Van Persie has been on rest for the last week since the Fulham game in the Champions League, with Henry becoming available. He's since been in Dubai, relaxing on holiday. Personally, I think it will probably end up being Henry starting with Van Persie on the bench this Sunday against Swansea, and then the week after it will be Van Persie starting with Henry on the bench. But if Henry starts this Sunday, scores 2 or 3 goals, and he's the outstanding player, then it will put a very, very interesting question in front of Wenger. But in answer to your question at the moment, I think it will be Henry this weekend and Van Persie against Manchester United.
Yes, well, both games should be very exciting for the fans of Arsenal and Thierry Henry. David, I just wanted to thank you for coming and speaking about Arsenal, and hope you have a good evening.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Good night.